ladies and gents, and welcome to Throttle Theory Driving Academy. I'm here with our program director, owner, Throttle Theory Driving Academy, Kyle Shields. Kyle, you've been in some high-pressure driving situations, and now you are bringing that to the next generation. Why are we doing this?
Well, I mean, even I, a long time ago, wasn't experienced at a lot of driving. And I started going through different classes because my passion was racing. And it really opened my eyes to how much was involved in understanding driving and getting the educational base and just having the understanding of what that car is doing and why it's doing it. And it made me such a better driver and just aware. When I found out, not only on the track, but all the things that you learn on the track can be correlated to the street.
Right.
Because it's all about car control and what's going on out there. So it kind of really opened my eyes up. And when I'm driving now, even from an earlier on after I was educated on how to drive properly, I see a lot of individuals on the road, from adults all the way down to kids, where you're watching what's going on and you don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. And you see all these accidents that happen.
Yeah, and they don't understand what they're doing.
And they don't understand. So I don't fault them so much. It's just the system that here in the United States just hasn't kind of caught up. And we teach people how to pass a test, not how to drive a car.
Wow.
And so it's very important to really have that good basis education and understanding of, if I do this, what's the recourse of the car? And that's not taught. Things like understeer, oversteer.
Right.
A lot of individuals don't know what that is, but these are just car dynamics and characteristics that I feel everybody should understand. And when you understand those types of things, then you can apply that to the steering wheel, your hands, your eyes, and your feet, to make sure that the car does what you want it to do. So many times I ask an individual, well, what happened in the car? And this is what they always say: I don't know, the car just did this. Well, a car doesn't just do something unless a force is applied.
That's right.
And guess who the force is? Take those two thumbs and you gotta go like that.
Right.
That's the key thing. So you gotta educate yourself. And just here in Georgia for 20 years, from Southern California, I was helping my friend out, Jeff Payne, who owns Driver's Edge, out in Las Vegas. Wonderful program. We've put thousands of teenagers through, and I've really seen how that works. Well, being out here in the state of Georgia, we didn't have anything like that.
Right.
And unfortunately, there have been some deaths from teenagers, and I'm sitting here with all this education saying, why can't I pass this along to more people?
Yeah.
Why can't I spread the news?
So tell us, Kyle, what can we expect on the day?
Well, we're gonna have 4 different exercises or breakouts, where you're going to go, one of them is the skid pad, where you'll learn what to do in case the car does slide or spin out, they call it. So we're going to teach you that there. Another exercise is accident avoidance lane change. That's where if something pops up in front of you, we're going to teach you how to steer around that object and come to a complete safe and full stop. We also have ABS brake and turn exercise. That's where you take off. You get up to around 40 miles an hour. We're going to tell you to hit the brakes as hard as you can, and we're going to use the wheel and the brake pedal and steer around the object utilizing ABS. So the 4th exercise is working with the police and also with maintenance of a vehicle. So we'll have a static display where the police officers will kind of go over what to look for in maintenance of a car, and also talk a little bit about what could possibly happen if you were to get pulled over.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's something that's very, very needed. Look, I learned to drive around. I've lived here my whole life. I am a Georgia native. I learned to drive when I was 12 years old, and grandma's like Bonneville, hitting those dirt roads. There ain't no dirt roads around here no more. We got 1 million people in Gwinnett County, and navigating roads with that kind of congestion is like, I mean, it's life-threatening whether you like it or not. A written test, probably not going to do it anymore. And just like you said, there's not a year that doesn't go by where we don't see a story on the news about a teenager who's lost their life and yet another accident. Like, what are we training these kids? Like, let's walk me through, what is it like, and what are we teaching at a day at the Throttle Theory Driving Academy?
Just understanding the physics behind a vehicle dynamics, they call it. Remember, driving is a privilege, okay? It's not a right. So when you are out there on the road, you're very responsible. A lot of people, not just kids, a lot of people don't understand that you're driving a 3,000 to 4,000 pound vehicle at 60 miles an hour. there's something called physics and geometry that will always outweigh any kind of electronics that any manufacturer can put into that car. And when crashes happen, there's recourse. And it could be anything from a small fender bender up to a tragedy where people pass away. And now you see individuals that made a mistake. They made one mistake, yet they're in jail. Or they killed somebody.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have that understanding and education of what's going on. So here at Throttle Theory, what we're trying to do is give that good foundation by understanding the dynamics of a vehicle, what you as a driver have to do to make that vehicle do what you want it to do, not to what the car is going to do to you. You got to be proactive, not reactive. And unfortunately, I always hear this word, oh, we're taking a defensive driving course. Really, I mean, defensive driving is always worried about something's going to happen.
Right.
You know, if you're on an offense, you're always making plans, you're making plays. You're going to win the game.
Yeah.
With a
like
good
the
offense.
Coach always said, the best defense is a good offense, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this before where you have cars merging onto the freeway. Well, the word merge doesn't mean going on 10 miles an hour slower than the rest of the traffic because I'm in defensive mode.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually better to actually speed up faster than the traffic that's on the freeway to actually
been
take
there,
your
man.
spot.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've all been on, like, getting on the freeway. Car in front of us is just pooting along, trying to get on that on-ramp. What are you doing, man? What are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. It can be frustrating.
I think a part of this, obviously for safety, obviously there's a concern of parents, like wanting to make sure that their kids are prepared for the road. You know, they passed this test, but are you really, truly prepared? I think, you know, these courses offer that sort of peace of mind, both for parents and for students when they get out there, because, you know, they're going to find themselves in all these kind of situations around drivers of all different skill levels. So that's one of the things that's important, but it's also really fun. Like getting in the car and doing some of the activities we're going to be doing during the day. Like, let's talk about the skid pad. Let's talk about ABS. Let's talk about some of those things they're going to experience.
Sure, sure. So a day in Throttle Theory will consist of three different exercises that you're going to go through. One of them would be skid pad training. So when you say skid pad, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. All these different things that we're going to teach you are going to happen out there on the highway. Well, it's better to understand them before they happen on the road. Unfortunately, nowadays, everything is you're learning out on the road. Well, that's the wrong place to learn in any atmosphere. You don't just go straight into it and say, oh, I'm going to learn out there, you know, on the streets. That's the worst thing you can do. So we're teaching you with skid pad how to use your hands, eyes, and feet to recover from any kind of slide. They call it oversteer.
Eyes, hands, and feet.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So just like any sport, just like driving, your eyes follow your what? Hands. Ball to bat, golf club to golf ball, or driving, you look to where you want the car to go to, not to where it's going. You ever seen the midnight news where it shows a car hit the one telephone pole out of a whole parking lot? Why do you think that happened?
They were looking at the pole.
They're looking at the pole. There's the pole. I don't want to hit the pole. Well, guess what? Your hands are following your eyes, and you hit the pole.
That's true.
Boom, and it crashes, right? So we're teaching you where you want the car to go to, not to where it's going.
I gotcha.
And by using a little acronym called CPR, correct, pause, recover. So when you're sliding the car, you correct by counter steering, right? You pause because the back end's sliding. As soon as that back end starts to grip, the pause goes to recover. So the C, correct, pause, recover means putting the steering wheel with the front tires back to square.
Right.
Because a lot of times your gym coach who's teaching you driver's ed, right, you know, is in the right-hand seat, and he says, oh yeah, you just steer into the turn. Okay, that's great. That's the C. You forgot the P and the R. Because if you just do the C, you correct, oh, turn in the slide, turn in the slide. Car grabs, now the front tires are turned this way. Which way does the car want to go? Directly that way. If you ever see the skid marks on a freeway that make a big S into the wall, that's because they listened to the gym coach.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Those gym coaches, man.
I'll tell you.
You know?
So, you know, it's just a matter of understanding the reasons, what you need to do behind the wheel, what the recourse is, and how do you correct it. And the only way you learn that is just by doing it. You got to get in and do it. And we're not doing that, you know, for the kids. We're really just teach them how to parallel park. Well, you know it's not right.
Another thing you think about today is just like, what does it mean to be, you're coming from like a professional driving background. You've seen a side of driving that a lot of us aren't even like aware of. I just want to hear some of your story. Like I said, when I started driving at 12, when did you start driving and how did you become a professional driver and what does that mean?
Sure. My dad raced back in the 50s in Southern California, and he did mostly drag racing and Bonneville salt flat stuff.
Gotcha.
And he was a mechanic.
Cool.
And I got the hook because he'd take me to the racetrack when I was a kid, and I wanted to start in go-karts. So I started in go-karts, working my way up. My dad would fix the carts, but really didn't have enough money to go to the higher levels to just kind of buy my way in. So I had to work hard, and I figured out ways to get to a racing school because I figured that would be the next step.
Very cool.
And by working my way to the racing school, I really learned a lot. And it kind of opened up my mind to, wow, I didn't realize that that's what it's all about. It's not just getting in the car and going fast. There's reasonings behind everything. And you have to understand that good reasoning. It's like building a house. If you build a house without a good foundation, what's going to happen to the house?
Yeah, storm's going to
It's going to crumble,
away,
right? Yeah. So if you build yourself that good foundation, that house is going to stay for a long period of time. And then that's what driving is people just understand how much goes into it and how much you have to know. And
true.
Understanding, if I do this to the steering wheel, this is what's going to happen to the car, and that's going to be the recourse.
Right.
Nobody knows that.
Yeah, nobody knows that. And the crazy thing is, like, so when a lot of the audience probably hears, people watching hear the fact that we're talking about professional driving a little bit, they're like, oh, what's that? Well, here's the deal. I could throw a rock and hit a guy that drives for Uber right now. There's people on the road professionally driving, making money from driving, that have never taken these kind of courses. So I feel like it's not just the kid with the learner's license, you know, it is the whole gamut of drivers out there. When you get 1 million people on the road the way we have right now, like, it feels like the things that you are teaching is just like of such importance that everybody should be tuning in right now.
And that's why I want to share it with Throttle Theory.
Yeah,
you know, it's just, I want it to come full circle, keeping people safe on the road, understanding what they do behind the wheel makes a difference, and having that good education base. Because if we do train younger individuals, hopefully when they become parents, they can instill some of that knowledge into their kids and keep the people safe behind the wheel.
You know, something I've heard you say before too that has always fascinated me was like when you talked about the myths of safe driving. You know, like you mentioned, like, you know, turning into the turn. You know, what the 10 and 2 position.
Yes.
Like, talk about the 10 and 2. I've heard to drive at 10 and 2 my whole life. Is that right?
No, it's not.
It's not right.
So the 10 and 2 position is not right, even though they go 10 and 2 up here on the wheel, right? Now that's where you should be. It's not, okay?
Wow.
So the reason being is because you want your hands as far apart as possible for leverage. And on the steering wheel, if you ever noticed on any of the production cars now with the steering wheels, all the buttons are right there. That's for your thumbs, okay? And if you ever see those little bumps on the steering wheels on the cars nowadays that are right next to the 9 and 3 position, those are actually from old racing days when cars didn't have power steering, and they've kept what they call the heritage along in the sports cars that have the bumps. And it's there to actually hold your hands on the steering wheel firmly so they don't slide up off the steering wheel.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What about ABS? Like, what does ABS stand for? What does that do? Like, what are we teaching with that?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the elements that we do is what they call the ABS brake and turn exercise. Most people have never applied ABS. Most people know ABS as anti-lock braking systems. Right. Well, yeah, that's what it does, but I actually call it something different. I call it ability to brake and steer.
Oh,
because really that's what it allows you to do.
Ability to brake and steer, ABS, love that.
Well, because in the old days, like when I was driving in my dad's 1970 Country Squire Ford wagon with the wood grain, right, that's what I learned in. We went out to the parking lot, like you mentioned, at the horse track. Yeah. He says, step on the brakes. Well, when you step on the brakes of a car that doesn't have ABS, what happens to the tires? They lock up, right? Yeah. So all the tires lock up. Here's what happens, though. When you lock a tire up, it's not rolling. You need a tire to roll to be able to do what?
To steer.
Yeah. So ABS, what it does is you have the brake pad and you have the rotor, and it locks it up and lets it go, locks it up and lets it go. And it does it super duper quick. Okay?
Gotcha.
By doing that, it allows the tire to roll, and it allows you to steer around an object. So most people, I don't even want to say kids, most people have never even applied ABS before.
Right. Yeah.
So what we do,
it's got that clicking noise. Just
So what we want to do is have them get familiar with it, because there's nothing wrong with stomping on the pedal. In fact, I tell the students, I'll give you $100 if you can break that brake pedal off. Because a lot of them don't push the brake pedal hard enough. Right. Because they've never done it. I said, I want you to push it through the floorboard and don't let up. Really? Yeah, really. So you press it to the floorboard, you don't let up, you'll feel this kind of shall we say, grinding noise you'll hear, and you'll hear the steering wheel shake a little. It sounds kind of violent, but all it's doing is just locking the tires up and letting them roll, and allows you to steer around that object if a semi-truck stopped in front of you or something.
Yeah, that's great. You know, I think a lot of people just generally don't know how to drive like this. They just don't know that speed is your friend. That's something else I hear you say. Talk about speed being your friend.
Well, like we were talking about with merging onto the freeway, you need to go with the flow of traffic. Sometimes if you're too cautious, that's more of a danger than actually being more on the offense. Because if you're on an offense, you can actually kind of pick your choices or moves of where you want to be. Defense, everybody's using you as a pick.
I gotcha.
And so kind of, we don't want you to go fast and start breaking all the speed laws. What we want you to do is be assertive, making sure that you put the car where you want it to be at that point in time in a safe way.
Yeah.
And to do that, you really have to understand the characteristics and dynamics of car control.
Yeah, so much to learn. I think there's so much to learn that most adults don't even take the time to learn.
Yeah.
And this is like you said, it's a high-powered machine. It's something that we get into and we feel confident that we want. But I see what's happening a lot now, especially as I put my parent hat on and I start thinking like a dad. It's like, look, I want to go buy a car that's got all of the automatic safety features that I could get. I want the thing to beep and shut down when I start to back out and something starts to pass. I mean, there's more of these electronic features than ever. And look, you got to pay a lot extra for a lot of these features. Maybe talk about how Throttle Theory can save you coin when it comes time to buy that first car.
Well, it's funny because the cars have really excelled in technology.
Sure.
The problem is, though, it gives you a false sense of security and like a safety blanket. All it did is physics will always win, geometry will always win in driving. The electronics can only do so much.
Right.
But all it did was raise the parameter of your crash to make it at a faster speed. Okay, because if you're still doing the wrong actions behind the wheel and on the pedals, you can overcome those electronics. Now, those electronics are a good safety net, but you'll always get to the parameter where they're just not going to work anymore.
Right.
And usually that's at a very high speed. So if you see crashes nowadays, they're actually worse than in the old days. They're not fender benders anymore. They're big.
Wow.
And it's because they've kind of, ran out of talent behind the wheel at that point. So you have to make sure that you kind of have that talent to understand that, hey, those are there as a safety net, but it shouldn't stop you from learning how to drive a car.
When we're at Throttle Theory on the day of, we talked a little bit about the skid pad. We talked a little bit about ABS and swerve control and things like that. There's a third component, and that is all about safety. What's happening there? Yeah,
so we have the skid pad. You'd rotate over to the accident avoidance lane change. So scenario, you're driving down Highway 85. You look down to grab your cup or something in the cup holder. You look up, and there's a semi-truck in front of you. What do you do at that point? What most people do is you just slam on the brakes, and it's fixation. In other words, remember I told you in the skid pad, your hands follow your eyes.
Yeah.
So at that point, they're looking straight at the back of the semi-truck. They usually lock their arms on the wheel, and what do they do with the brake? They slam on the brake, okay? Really, the right thing to do is, there's a little saying, when in doubt, both feet out. So what this means is if I'm driving and I have an out, because I should be proactive, remember? And I should, as I'm driving on the freeway, know, do I have an open lane on the right? You always want to leave an open lane. Do I have an open lane on the right or on the left? Okay. As I'm driving, and if I look up and that semi-truck is there, what you need to do is off the pedals, turn into the lane that is open, allowing that car to settle in, then you brake. You see, because it's all about load transfer, they call it, and that's what we're going to teach.
Wow.
It's all about maintaining the contact patches of your car. That's your tires. The only thing holding you onto the road are those 4 tires. And believe it or not, if you take your fist, that's about the amount of rubber on each tire that's holding that 4,000 pounds onto the ground.
That much?
Yep, that's it. So if you have 4 of them, right, that's 4 contact patches. If I hit the brakes, how many contact patches I have? All the way goes to the front, now I got 2. So now I just eliminated the back tires, because all the way goes to the front when I hit the brakes. So now I only have 2 tires to slow me down. Then if I turn the wheel while I'm braking, how many do I have now?
Oh my gosh.
I got 1.
Yeah.
So the old when in doubt, both feet out is, if I take my feet off the pedals, the car's sitting neutral, you have equal amounts of load on all 4 tires, the car handles better to get into the situation, and then you brake when you're in a straight line. But that has to be taught.
That has to be taught.
That's the whole thing. And that's what those are the things that we're teaching you. And we're allowing you to do that out there in a closed course environment, in our product, in a safe place, with a professional race car driver in the right seat.
Talk a little bit about that. That's like one of the coolest parts of the program, is the fact that we have these expert race car drivers instructing students.
Yeah. I mean, I have IMSA champions. Have you ever been to the Petit Le Mans race? I've got people sitting in the right seat. Jeff Andretti, he's one of my good friends. We can have him sitting in the ride. You never know.
That's cool.
We're going to could have a celebrity racer that you didn't even know was there.
That's pretty awesome.
So they have a big passion like I do for making sure that people are safe behind the wheel and spreading the news. And so we'll have them in the right seat with you, teaching you all the techniques that made them champions.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Great. I think the whole experience is just it's a game changer when it comes to confidence and safety behind the wheel, right? I mean, the reason that we're doing this, again, is just that we want students, we want kids to be safe, we want new drivers to be safe, and, we want to open this up for even other things that we could do. So potentially we have this starter day, this level 1 event where they're going through these different sections. What else is happening with Throttle Theory? What else can we do?
What's a little bit different than all the other teen schools that you see out there is we're making an academy. So what that means is we're going to give you the basics of driving, the good fundamentals to give you a good foundation of car control. That's the 3 different exercises that we spoke about.
Sure.
After you graduate from that, you have the chance to go to level 2 of the academy, where we'll actually have a purpose-built closed course, more or less like an autocross, where we will teach you all those techniques that we taught on the separate courses, but you're going to put them all together into one course.
Super cool.
And again, you'll have a person sitting right seat with you, helping you out, teaching you, understanding how to look for the right spots. We call them apexes. Now, apexes aren't just for racetracks. They're also on off-ramps or anywhere. It's just the innermost part of a turn. We're going to teach you all the different types of turns, increasing radius, decreasing radius. The reason being, it's not for speed, it's for understanding the recourse. What a decreasing radius turn is prime example, you have a decreasing radius turn going from the Mall of Georgia all the way to 85 north. So what that means is you're going through a turn and you're going like good 45 mile an hour, 50 miles an hour. You're turning and all of a sudden the turn gets tighter and tighter and tighter at the end. Well, if I don't understand that and I keep the same speed and the radius gets tighter, physics and geometry says no, and you're going to push to the outside and you could get in the way of a semi-truck that's actually merging in.
Wow.
So you have to understand that, look at the turn, and that's what I have fun about driving is I kind of look now and I figure out what turns they are. Are they banked, which means on camber? Are they off camber? Does it fall away from you? Because you have to understand the physics of that. What is it going to do to the characteristics of the car? Is it an increasing radius turn or a decreasing radius turn?
Right.
So that's just knowledge. It's not, oh, I don't want my kids being taught by a race car driver because they're going to go fast. That's the wrong point. We just know how to really kind of take a car and put it at its limits and be in control all the time because we have knowledge.
At level 2. Yeah. No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
So let's pause for a minute. Talk to mom and dad a little bit about why this is so important.
Well, sure. I'm a parent. I mean, I've got one teen and one that's 21 now that drives a car. Well, every time it's later at night, you always worry. It's just a parent. Did I teach them the right things? Are they doing the right things behind the wheel? And it's funny because, now we have apps, different things to kind of monitor what's going on and the whole thing. But you got to give, your kid a little bit of space there in regard to that.
Sure.
And so giving them education is key. Having them understand how to drive will kind of give you a peace of mind and help you sleep a little bit better. Because hopefully they'll apply that and they'll just do the right thing.
Absolutely. Well, as we wrap up here, Kyle, what is your hope that you have for students that go through the Throttle Theory Driving Academy?
Well, first and foremost, I hope that they learn something that's very beneficial for them out on the road. Getting the knowledge, understanding of driving. And number 2 is have fun. Right. I mean, driving should be fun. That's the key. So safety, understanding how to drive, and having fun. Most kids nowadays, a lot of them, they don't even want to drive anymore. So I want to get that excitement level back up, saying, hey, driving is fun. It's exciting. Be a part of that car. Have a good time with it.
Yeah, awesome. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this. It's one thing to hear us talk about throttle theory. It's a whole nother thing to experience it. So make sure you sign up. You come out on the day. I mean, it's a wonderful and fun time. You're going to leave knowing a lot more about cars, a lot more about driving. You're going to have that confidence when you hit the road that I think every driver is looking for.
Come on out and see us. Throttle Theory Driving Academy. Real skills, real confidence, real experience.